Welcome to the TPM Social Club. I'm here with Joe Ragazzo. How's it going, Joe?
Very good.
I'm
Doing very
Josh
well.
Kovensky. I'm good. I almost called us the TPM Summer House, which I think listeners will learn more about later in the episode. But before
Yes.
that, we had Mike Rothschild on. He's a great guest to talk about conspiracy theories. He writes Rough Edges for TPM. He covers fringe groups. He has a Patreon, Mike Rothschild. And he was a really, really great guest to talk about kind of conspiracy theories, why people believe in them, how they work, and why they're so popular right now. What do you think, Joe?
It was fascinating. I liked that our conversation touched a lot on why people are receptive to conspiracy theories. I think it's almost like conspiracy theories function as like a decision making heuristic for people. Like, since we don't have time to analyze like every single piece of information in the world, um some people just accept conspiracy theories, and it's a ready-made way to understand what seems beyond your understanding. So I thought it was a great conversation, talking about Trump, talking about some other off the wall things. Really good stuff.
Yeah, and unlike the heuristic point, I also thought it was interesting the emotional element. One thing he kept talking about that you asked about was the loneliness. That like a lot of the people who really get into this are they're really really lonely in their personal lives. And he was talking also about how like part of why these became so popular during COVID and why so many of them that are like really popular now are associated with like vaccination and health is because during COVID, everybody was isolated. People
Yeah.
were, they lost social contact. And so they like, and the world was a really confusing place. So they, kind of bought into all this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's also just really interesting that his name is Mike Rothschild. Like, just to address the
Yeah.
elephant in the room, which he did.
Right.
It's very funny that he writes about conspiracy theories, and he like researches them, and he got into that a little bit. He, if you think no one's ever leveled the accusations at him, you're wrong. So
Yeah.
very good, very fun, and
We had that we had one of the Rothschilds on to talk about the Rothschilds. It was good.
yeah.
We also got into like Art Bell, which was partly why he got into conspiracy theories, and that was great. The like coast to coast, late night radio conspiracy theorists. I liked that.
Yeah, like, we've talked about this before. Grew up listening to talk radio, mostly sports talk, some afternoon drive stuff. I interned at a radio station, and really probably the first radio show, like, as a kid that I really enjoyed was Art Bell, because
Yeah.
that was crazy. That was wild. It's late at night. You got this guy saying, like, the kookiest things you've ever heard, and, yeah, and it with an innocence. And I think one thing Mike kept brought up a couple of times was how conspiracy theories used to feel fun, and almost they
Yeah.
had like an innocent charm to them, whereas now it's it's assassinations and global pedophile cabals and reptile people taking over the world, and
And like,
assassinations.
yeah, and people acting on it, right? It's like it's not just like there's microchips in the vaccines, right? Which is like kind of funny but like it's like people aren't getting vaccinated, and like we have these diseases coming back, right? So like it's yeah, it's kind of scary. But we do like I think miss when it was funny. I mean, and
Yeah.
like I think you see like vestiges of that. Like at one point we talked about the Candace Owens reaction to Charlie Kirk, and like there are parts of that which is not that are not funny, but like one thing that she has used her platform to educate us all about is that in fact Charlie Kirk was the victim of a like time traveling cabal of people who are like threatening people by through like their time traveling skills and like extorting them that way. So like I think that's kind of fun to
Yeah,
think about. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. um One of the reasons we wanted to talk to Mike today was because of the response to the attempted presidential assassination at the White House Correspondents' Dinner was met with something ranging from apathy to it was actually a hoax. And this struck us as abnormal. Usually, when someone tries to assassinate the president, that's not the first thing people are saying. Some of the people in attendance even just viewed it as a spectator sport. It didn't seem like anyone cared in my circle of friends and family. It just didn't really come up very much. and that's why we actually closed out the show with something else that people were talking about. You have to wait till the end. Um, we actually it's the first on air contribution from producer Jackie. So you want to stick around. You don't want to miss that.
All right. Well, today we're joined by Mike Rothschild, journalist, writer specializing in conspiracy theories, author of The Storm is Upon Us about QAnon and Jewish space lasers, about the Rothschilds. Thanks for coming on, Mike. We really
Yeah,
appreciate
thank
it.
you for having me.
So, look, I mean, one reason why we thought it would be timely to have you on is because of what happened over the past weekend, the attempted shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And one thing that I think struck a lot of people about that was the reaction. I mean, how it was received. There was some apathy. There were attempts by the Trump administration to kind of make gin up another sort of like panic akin to what we saw after Charlie Kirk. But also, there were immediately a lot of kind of like conspiracy theories about what happened. People were saying like it was a false flag, that it was staged. The guy wasn't really a shooter. All these kinds of things that sort of invalidated what to many people seemed to be, kind of what obviously happened. So I think like one question just we wanted to start off with for you is like, why is everybody so ready for conspiracy theories right now? Like, why are they so popular, and why do we kind of find them like everywhere? It seems.
Yeah, it's a great question. And, unfortunately when these things happen now, my first thought beyond like, oh, I hope everybody's okay is up. It's going to be a busy weekend for me. We're living in this time where so much is happening so quickly and so intensely that we are struggling to make sense out of it. We're struggling to find any kind of pattern in it. We're struggling to find order in it. And conspiracy theories and sort of hoaxes and myths propagate in times where it seems like nobody's in control and we don't understand why all of these random things are happening. And we want there to be a reason. We want someone to be in control. We want someone to be behind all of this and have a reason why they're doing it, even if it's a bad reason, even if it's a reason that's going to be harmful for me personally. We want someone to be in control and know what's going on because we don't know what's going on.
One thing it's fun. It's interesting you say that that's where your mind leaps to when you see news like this because I thought this was notable because for me it was the first time where something horrible happened and my group chat, the first thing I heard about it from anyone was one of my friends said, "So this is fake, right? Like this is just
Yep.
a hoax. Like this is," and it felt to me like kind of I don't know, entering a new phase or maybe turning a bad corner. And I wonder how much you think like Trump himself plays into that in the sense of like flooding the zone with all kinds of conspiracy theories where it just kind of makes it easier for people to assume they're going on, you know?
Yeah, sure. It's a huge part of it. Trump is the personification of chaos, and in particular, this kind of violent chaos that sort of swirls around him, both in his inner circle and in his supporters and in his opposition. He first made his name as a politician, certainly because of his his name and his wealth and his kind of public profile, but also because he was a conspiracy theorist and he took these things that had been on the fringe right for a long time and mainstreamed them. There's always been a conspiracy theorist element in conservative politics. There's always been a conspiracy theorist element in all politics. You had the John Birch Society. You had the fluoride weirdos handing out their pamphlets. Trump took this stuff and made it completely mainstream. He was the going back to 2015, he was the leading Republican candidate then out of a field of 20 something candidates, and he's talking about how Barack Obama wasn't born in the United States and vaccines cause autism and Antoine Scalia was smothered with a pillow and Hillary Clinton's had all these people killed. This stuff had always been there, but Trump gave voice to this kind of fringe belief and suddenly told all of these people, hey, I'm one of you. You need to get behind me. And so he mainstreamed all of this stuff. And now, of course, it is everywhere. And he propagates it. He's still propagating it. Last night, in the middle of the night. He was posting QAnon memes. This stuff is a foundational pillar of who he is and who this movement is. So of course, anytime something happens to him that is not supposed to happen, it is immediately going to spark conspiracy theories in people of all political persuasions, because people either want him to spread this stuff or don't trust him.
The other thing that I think people kind of forget is like, yeah, like the obviously Obama birther conspiracy theories, that was how he entered politics. But like he was also a big professional wrestling guy,
Yeah.
right? And like so much of like what he was doing in like the 90s and 2000s was like hanging out with Steve McMahon and like showing up to, like taking part in all that. Um and like Joe flagged this beforehand, but like Dana White, the UFC president, was there and he said something like, I mean, it was kind of funny. He basically talked about the whole event, the shooting, as if it was like a setup in professional wrestling. But he said that it was like fucking awesome to be there. That's like his quote, like,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah, I thought.
crazy. But yeah, Joe.
Well, I was wondering if that like contributed to people thinking it was a conspiracy. Because
Right.
you have him sitting there saying like I was watching it. It was awesome. It was fun. And a few tables away, you have Cash Patel kind of just sitting there like, "Hey guys, like what's going on?"
Yeah,
And so
everybody
it was
everybody
very
devolves.
weird.
Yeah, everybody devolves into their character. It's like the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Everybody's like in the
Right.
ring and they're all playing their character. Meanwhile, like there's like gunshots and people are running around and people are being taken off stage. People said, "Oh, it feels like a movie." All these people want to be living in this movie. There's a reason why so many
Right.
people in the Trump administration are kind of rejected Hollywood screenwriters. They all want to produce movies. They all want to hang out with celebrities. They are all looking at their lives as part of this political entertainment complex. So when there's a shooting, it's like, oh yeah, here we go. There's going to be cameras. There's going to be, I'm going to be, there's going to be pictures. I'm going to pose for it. I'm going to get to look cool. You get Pete Hegseth, walking around like with his jaw clenching, like looking for somebody to punch. I mean, they all devolve into these pro wrestling characters because so much of this, it's not scripted, it's like performative. That doesn't mean it's fake. It just means that they devolve into these gimmicks because they've all been podcasters and influencers. They're on TV all the time. They know what to do when the cameras are on.
But do you think that's like part of why people are so more like so much more susceptible to conspiracy theories now? Is because right now we're like the people who are in charge of the country, as you said, are like they're very into political entertainment, but they literally do think of everything as like a stunt to be manufactured for public consumption. So it's like it's not like a stretch to then think that like things that are very much not stunts, like like an actual shooting attempt, is also like in some ways like the product of like some fake attempt to do to this
Oh,
to
sure.
create like
That's a big part
following.
of all the Butler conspiracy theories is, people,
Yeah.
I've talked about like, do we really think like a 78-year-old man who like grips a railing like it's a lifeboat and maybe starting to have dementia, do we think he can pull off this sort of complicated fake? And people are like, oh, he knows Vince McMahon, he knows how to blade, cut himself to bleed. I'm like, really? Donald Trump is going to do that? But you just become so used to everything being a performance and everything being done for the cameras and for the clicks and for the virality that it starts to overtake your sense of what's real and what people are actually capable of.
One aspect of the sort of Trumpian contemporary conspiracy theories that I wonder if it's new or just new to me, which is they seem to be like a fusion with vengeance.
Mhm.
In the sense of like, so take the Southern Poverty Law Center, which I'm not sure that technically is. I mean, there's conspiracy theories about what they do, right? And
Yeah.
so now you have Trump trying to shut them down, and it seems like I would I would venture to say 10 years ago, maybe even more sooner than that, Trump had no idea what the Southern Poverty Law Center
Mhm.
even was,
Yeah.
let alone have conspiracy theories about it. But the conspiracy theories are kind of just like ready-made justifications for him to take out vengeance on people. And is that always been is that always kind of a quality of conspiracy theorizing, or is that something that kind of Trump and the modern GOP has kind of brought to it and fused together?
Well, Trump certainly excels at it, and in particular the vengeance aspect. I mean, I think he even said in running for 2024, he said, "I am your vengeance." I'm like, vengeance against who? but but that kind of scapegoating and blaming, it's a big part of conspiracism. It's to use the most extreme example, if you go to the rise of the Nazis, what they did was they offered Germans a villain, and they offered Germans a reason why they lost the First World War, why their economy was collapsing, why unemployment was so high, why communists are marching in the streets. Here's who did this to you, and here's what we're going to do to get them back, and here's how you can be part of it. That's a very, very powerful instinct. And Trump and the people around him excel at seizing on that idea of, we are going after your enemies. They want to come at you, and I'm in the way, and I'm going to stop them. And we know what they did, and we're going to bring them down. That's what made something like QAnon so popular. It was the idea of, we're finally going to bring these people down, and we're going to get our revenge. Now, never mind, nothing happens except these sort of performative indictments and lawsuits and things that get thrown out. And the worst people at the center of QAnon are being protected by Trump and his administration. But if you sell the vengeance fantasy enough, you sort of personify yourself as standing in the fight with the leader. Hitler excelled at that. The people around Hitler excelled at that. And Trump and the people around him really excel at that.
We're curious, Mike, how did you kind of start to focus on this area? Like, how did you get interested in conspiracy theories and why?
Yeah. Believe it or not, it was not my last name. No
Okay.
relation
Yeah,
to
I
the
was
Rothschild
curious.
banking family.
I wanted to
Sa-
ask you at one point if anybody's ever like come at you, like accusing you of being a member of the Rothschilds.
every single day when I started writing about conspiracy theories, I got, a
Yeah,
Rothschild writing about conspiracy theories. How stupid do they think we are? I'm like, kind of stupid. Um,
right.
but I actually got drawn to the fringe conspiracy world when I was in college. And I'm going to date myself here, but this is the late 90s. And, there wasn't as much entertainment then. I got really into Coast to Coast AM, the old Art Bell radio show. So, he's on in the
Oh
middle of the
yeah,
night, and he's
Cool.
got,
hell yeah,
yeah, he's got UFOs and like crop circles and the face on
yeah.
Mars and teleporting and remote viewing and like Kennedy assassination stuff. I'm like, I don't know anybody who's into this. This is like a whole new world of stuff to me. The internet was just really getting going then, and I'm like, I live in the Midwest. Like, I don't know anybody who's like this, or if they are, they don't talk about it. I never believed in any of it, but I was fascinated by it as storytelling, as we're going to sort of lay out this tale, and some people are going to think it's the stupidest thing they've ever heard, but then there's going to be the guy who calls in and says, yeah, I saw a UFO, you can't convince me I didn't see it. And there's a very particular mindset that I was really fascinated by. And, eventually as this stuff started to become more mainstream and more politicized, I started writing about it more. There started being a real need for people to be able to write about this who didn't have an academic background, who came at it from a more sort of pop culture standpoint. And, I sort of found this niche at the same time as there really became a need for it. Now I think there's probably too much of a need for it. It's way too mainstream. It's not fun anymore. It's not like Bigfoot and, I saw these lights at night. It's, they want to kill me and I need to kill them first. It's a little more intense now.
Man, shout out to Art Bell.
Yeah.
Art Bell was a treat for me.
Yeah.
My mom hates flying, so whenever we took family vacations, we drove, and sometimes that meant like 30-hour drives to
Yep.
Disney World. And the drives were made palatable to my young ears by Art Bell,
Yeah.
who when you're like 9 or 10 and everyone in the car's asleep and you're just on the freeway kind of hanging out in the front seat with your dad and Art Bell starts coming on.
That's amazing. Yeah.
It's just the best.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the callers, to your point,
Yeah.
make it, because that if you didn't have the callers, you think, all right, here's this guy doing a bit late night. And maybe he was. I don't think so based on the way he looks and acts. But
Yeah.
then the callers, and they make it real because it's like, oh, this is a national show where people are listening to base as a community. So I'm glad to hear about Art Bell.
And for those callers, I mean, if you listen to those open lines shows, this is the most important thing that you could possibly believe to this person who's calling in. And Art Bell, he gives them room to talk. He pushes back a little bit. He never calls them stupid or crazy. It's a realization that there's a lot of people out there who believe stuff that is not mainstream and who are really lonely and isolated and really want someone to listen to them. And we would find later on that that's actually, that's a political movement. I mean, if you look at so many of the conspiracy theorists, they're just isolated, lonely people. It's why this stuff took off so much during lockdown, because suddenly we're all isolated, and we're all kind of that guy in the middle of the night who's calling in because, somebody put a microchip in his toothpaste, or aliens are following him around, or he has some theories about international finance. Um,
Right.
we all sort of became that person, and there was a moment in lockdown where this kind of the barriers broke down, and suddenly we're all a little bit fringe and a little bit crazy.
It's funny how there are these like consistent themes that appear like from Art Bell to like now. So one thing I've been like following is Candace Owens
Mhm.
and her reaction to the Charlie Kirk killing, and she's like spun this like really elaborate theory that in fact I think Charlie Kirk was killed by like sort of like time traveling Israelis, and there might have been some like alien involvement also. And it's great because you have, I mean, there's anti-Semitism, one thing,
Sure,
because
of
she's
course.
not talking about the Israelis in any like principled way.
Right.
There's like time travel, there's like aliens, and it all kind of comes together. And it is like this is the thing, it's like it's very entertaining. Like it's like even if you don't believe it, like it is like sort of like fun to listen to if you can like get yourself to forget that there's like this like affects real people. Like if it's just like pure entertainment, then it's pure entertainment. But like,
Yeah,
why is that?
so much of that stuff is just, it's really entertaining, and
right?
there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of people, and like there's secret murders and time travel and alien ships and secrets, and like it's like a James Bond movie come to life.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you have like a favorite conspiracy theory? Like, is there one that you like? You've been like the most entertained or like interested in?
Yeah, so this is actually a really interesting one, because it is kind of that rare conspiracy theory that's actually kind of true, but it's true for like the stupidest reason. So I will always ask people, think about the city where you live. There is probably an intersection where on every corner there is a mattress store. There's a sit and sleep across from a mattress firm, across from something else. They're open all the time. All the lights are on. There's never anyone in there. There's like one employee, and all of this open space. Who needs that many mattresses? Why is this happening? What is going on here? Is this tax evasion? Is this money laundering? Are there like tunnels underneath these mattress stores? So I did some writing about this. And what I learned is that, and there's been some other podcasts and things, basically, Mattress Firm bought all of these mattress stores, but they kept their names on them. So Mattress Firm, and I don't know all the exact details, I'm sort of generalizing, but Mattress Firm owned Sit and Sleep. So if you don't like the deal, you're getting at Sit and Sleep. Oh, I'm going to go across the street to Mattress Firm. Well, Mattress Firm owns them all. So all of these stores are there, and they only need to sell like one mattress a week, because the mattresses are so marked up, and because these stores have such little overhead. So it's not money laundering or tax evasion. It's just over expansion and a lack of consumer choice. And the thing that's really stupid about it is that Mattress Firm had to go bankrupt because it overexpanded. It bought too many mattress stores. So, like, here is an actual conspiracy to deprive consumers of choice and to inflate the market on something everybody buys, but it kind of failed because this company that did it so badly and so haphazardly. So I think it's a really good lesson of, yeah, conspiracies are real. The banks and the big corporations and the pharmaceutical conglomerates, they don't have our best interests in mind. It's just not like the elders of Zion sitting around in a secret bunker somewhere. It's just like guys in suits trying to bump their profit margins up 0.1%, and often doing it quite obviously and often failing at it.
I think that's the word that Adam Smith actually uses in Wealth of Nations to describe what the problems that nations will face is conspiracies among the producers to
Yeah.
work together to
Yeah.
artificially deflate wages. So yeah, absolutely. Something you just said reminded me of something I've been thinking about, which is when conspiracy theories beget actual conspiracies.
Mhm.
So the SPLC thing is another good example where there's all this nonsense about what they're doing and funding, revolutions and whatever, and that's all nonsense. but then there's a conspiracy to take down the Southern Poverty Law
Right.
Center, and that seems like something that seems like a trend that is accelerating under the I mean, I it almost feels less like a trend and more like a strategy.
Mhm.
Like we can latch on to these things even if we don't believe them. We know people out there believe them, and then use them to our political advantage. Am I off base on that? I mean, that does that ring true as a thing that's happening more often?
Oh yeah, and I think a lot of these conspiracy theories work because they take something that's true. I mean, the SPLC had it paid informants. A lot of places have paid informants, and they turn it into something nefarious, and they repeat it over and over and over and over again, and then they personalize it. They say, well, they weren't just like paying the KKK to riot; they were paying to go after Donald Trump, the people's president who has your best interests in mind. And of course they bring in like Soros, and they bring in, Zionists and Jews and all this other stuff, and it it plays on people's lack of understanding of how things work. And I think conspiracy theories really flourish when things happen and we don't quite understand them, and we don't trust the people who are explaining them to us, and we decide that those people are lying because we want them to be lying, because we want things that play into the biases that we already have. So a
Right.
really durable conspiracy theory is almost always something that has some element of truth to it. It's just surrounded by nonsense and propaganda and lying. So that's why, these things really find a home, is because there is something true. You can't deny the whole thing. You just can deny a lot of it, and then it just becomes too nuanced of a conversation for most people to have.
Yeah, and it's always like there's something hidden, right? Like you were saying with, I mean, kind of going to trust. I feel like with the SPLC example, it's like people kind of want there to be some like hidden thing the SPLC was up to, other than what they said they were doing, which was pointing out people who were like really racist or running hate
Yeah.
groups, right? There had to be some ulterior motive. There had to be something else that could explain what they were doing. But what's always so striking to me is that like then the thing that's kind of obviously happening in front of all of us, like an indictment against them for political reasons, that's the thing that has to be sort of accepted at face value, that this is like finally law enforcement has like figured out that the SPLC is corrupt, right? It's like there's this weird sort of like differential in terms of like who is being asked to like trust what and like why. And to me, that's like only explainable at least in that case, in terms of like partisanship. But I'm curious, like why is it that like, you know, sometimes like in some situations people are asked to like, you know, think that everything is hidden and fake and nonsense, and in others we have to just like accept the FBI, take the FBI at its word, and accept they've like finally uncovered the like, you know, corruption at the SPLC.
Yeah, we're living in this time where we're asked to accept these things that seem completely ridiculous and outlandish, and it is incredibly partisan, and it becomes a really sort of toxic discourse. And I think a really good example of that is the Butler assassination attempt. Right away, obviously, the conspiracy theory started, and the idea that it was staged started, and like that's really taken off on the left. That he staged this whole thing, that he did this to bump his poll numbers, to get that iconic photo, all of this other stuff. And when I point out that the things that people are using as evidence are not actually evidence, I mean, I don't, not to get into sort of the weeds of the Butler thing, but like the supposedly the video of the flag being lowered, and I'm like, the flag was on two cranes and the cranes didn't move. You can see the flag whipping in the wind, and you can see the camera moving up. Like, it's the camera and the angle and the wind. And then people go, "Oh, you trust Trump? You don't think Trump would do this?" I'm like, it doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter whether I trust Trump. Yes, he lies a lot about a lot of things, but that doesn't mean he's lying about everything. It doesn't mean he's lying about this. um you have to come up with these really sort of poor reasons to believe these things, rather than just say, yeah, the guy lies about a lot and I don't generally trust him, but this happened in the way that we know that it happened. It doesn't make sense for it to be anything else. But I'm scolded all the time. Oh, you don't think Trump would do this? You don't think Trump would kill one of his own supporters to seize power? I'm like, well, it doesn't matter what I think. It matters what there's evidence for, and there isn't. But it does. It becomes faith, and people take it on faith that Trump is, a 12D chess master, and people take it on faith that Trump would be able to pull off this ridiculously complicated scheme, involving him, having a bullet whiz by his ear. which is insane, which nobody would do, particularly the vainest man on the planet. You have to take it as a matter of faith that he would do this. And I think we're so far past logic or fact or reason. We're just all operating on faith and instinct right now. And it makes for a very toxic and pointless political discourse.
Something you just said, it kind of remind one of my biggest pet peeves is well, maybe not biggest, but people confuse the word theory with hypothesis.
Mhm.
Like a hypothesis is some idea you have that might be true and you have to test it.
Right.
And a theory is something that you can demonstrably
Yeah.
reliably recreate over and over and over again. And so when you say it, when we, not you, but when we all say
Mhm.
conspiracy theories, we're like accidentally lending them
Sure.
more credence than they really deserve. And you know, a good example is the article you wrote for TPM about the scientists,
Mhm.
right?
Sure.
If you were to actually take a theory and apply it, you should get the same result for each of those scientists, right? Like that, you would apply the framework and be like, oh yeah, this fits my theory. This person disappeared for this reason. It all fits together. It never happens though.
Right.
Because what conspiracy theorists are really talking about is I have this plausible idea where if all the cards in the, like, if I get dealt all the right cards, then it might work out. But the cards are never going to be dealt. So I can
Right.
just go on and spouting this forever and ever and ever. I don't really think I have a question there. Just an
Mhm.
observation that kind of drives me nuts about the way these things are kind of propagated in media and everything.
Oh, sure.
Because they're
Oh,
not
sure.
theories, you know.
Yeah, there's, despite having been, at the middle of this sort of mainstreaming of conspiracism for the last decade, I think a lot of the press still really struggles with how to talk about this stuff, or whether to talk about it. I think there is still that aspect of, oh, just ignore it and it'll go away. Well, we know that doesn't work. We have to talk about these things, but I think they're talked about in kind of the wrong way. I mean, the missing scientist thing is a really good example of that, because in sort of just looking at the facts of it, there isn't even a theory. It's just like a bunch of people who maybe sort of work in science died or disappeared over a 2-year period. Like statistically, of course that's going to happen. I think 4 of them happen to work at the Jet Propulsion Lab here in Pasadena, where I live. There's 5,000 people work at JPL. Tens of thousands of people have worked there in the past. They do a lot of different things there. There's nothing in the middle of this. There's no kind of central hub that all of these people will be revolving around. And that's actually, it's funny. Just today, the 30th, I wrote a piece for my Patreon about a kind of an earlier iteration of this missing scientist theory. And I don't want to get too deep into the details, but it was this theory that was going around England in the 80s, that all of these scientists linked to the SDI, the Star Wars initiative, were being murdered. And it turns out that, like, over the course of a decade, there were about 2 dozen engineers, researchers who were kind of tangentially linked to some of this work died, mostly via suicide, because it's an extremely high pressure job environment. But at least there was like, they're all being killed because they were working on Star Wars, and the Russians are doing it, or the MI5 is doing it, or whoever. There was at least something in the middle of it. With this missing scientist, there's not even that. The people who are pushing this can't even decide why this is happening. Is it UFOs? Is it free energy? Is it, alien contact? If you can't decide why something is happening, you maybe want to step back a little bit and just figure out if it's even happening. And people just don't want to do that.
So at some point, I feel like conspiracy theories almost did take on this like partisan split where like if you were like a Democrat, you were supposed to be like, trust the experts, committed to the facts, whatever. And if you're a Republican, you're supposed to be like, well, there are secret forces kind of underpinning the global elites who are coming after us all, and there's like a pedophile cabal underneath it. Like when did that develop, and why, and what does Trump kind of have to do with that?
So there's always been the kind of fringe weirdo element, particularly on the right. I mean, you always had sort of 1 or 2 members of Congress who were just total cranks. Conspiracy theories, monetary theories, medical theories. And, for a long time it was Ron Paul. In the early '90s, there was a California member of the House from Orange County named William Dannemeyer, just a absolute crank. Thought like AIDS was a curse from God. He was actually, I think he'd actually left the House at this point, but he gave a speech on the House floor that put the Clinton body count conspiracy theory into the congressional record. There was always that one guy. That person was never going to be president. They were always going to be kind of the one weirdo in Congress. And now that's just everybody. That you have like members of Congress during hearings, or judges during hearings, or like undersecretaries in the cabinet who literally will not say that Joe Biden won the 2020 election, who will say COVID was a plot by the World Bank to keep us all locked down and call the herd. Who will talk about like microchips and vaccines killing all of us, and this was stuff that was
Vaccines are such an
never.
interesting example, though, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah. I
I
mean,
think vaccines are such an interesting example,
yeah.
because for the longest time, though, that was like a left wing thing, right? Like,
Oh,
I mean, I
sure.
thought that if you were living in like a small community in like coastal California with a lot of like crunchy stores, like you'd probably have like a bunch of anti-vaxxers. But now it's become like a right wing conspiracy theory. Uh,
Yeah.
so I'm curious, like, I mean, that's an interesting example. Like, again, like, why did it like kind of switch to like a more partisan split?
I I think a lot of it was lockdown. I think in lockdown
Yeah.
you had especially for, single people, or people who were maybe a little more socially isolated, who got their kind of interactions through work or school, you were suddenly alone and isolated, and you maybe didn't have anything to do, you were bored, you're dysregulated, and you go looking for answers, and you go looking for people who are asking the same questions that you're asking. So people who were very into the kind of wellness and health freedom, who were typically very far left, suddenly started finding QAnon, and started finding the protocols of the elders of Zion, and suddenly started finding the videos like Plandemic, where you're blaming Fauci and Bill Gates and Soros for all of this stuff. And all these worlds mixed together because people just needed to know what was going on, and they didn't trust who was telling it to them. That kind of global trauma is always going to be a petri dish for conspiracy theories, and it happened to a lot of really educated, smart people who really should have known better.
Like earlier, you said something that I've been rattling around in my brain, which is how conspiracy theories are really attractive and thrive in communities filled with like loneliness. Um, and it made me wonder, to the degree that loneliness can be quantified in like a country, and to the degree that belief in conspiracy theories can be quantified across a country. Like, is there research that suggests like some countries are more susceptible to this kind of stuff than others based on like the social fabric? So I don't know, just picking at like people always talk about the Nordic
Mhm.
countries. I know they're not perfect, but sort of having this social cohesion and a high quality of life and everything. Do conspiracy theories just get stamped out more there quickly than they do somewhere like here? Or is this just a ridiculous question? Yeah.
No, it's not a ridiculous question. I think there is something in the American character of our kind of individualism, and we go it alone, and if something is bothering you, you just push it down and keep going, keep grinding. There is something in that spawns grievance and a feeling of not being listened to, feeling like nobody gets you. Countries that have a more robust social safety net don't struggle with that as much. Countries where that are smaller, and where people don't drive to work, where people are spending more time in cafes and on trains and just outside and being together, you don't have the kind of persecution complex that is so prevalent in America, because we're so spread out, we're so quiet in our pain, and we're so devoted to just push it down and keep going and keep making that money. I think a lot of countries that don't have that don't quite have the issues with conspiracism that we have. I mean, every country has it to a certain extent, but I think America in particular has this strain of sort of lonely paranoia that's always powered us, that makes us very susceptible to the kind of grievance and distrust where conspiracism really flourishes.
One thing that really strikes me too is like as I listen to you talk about all these conspiracy theories, it feels like there's this like flattening of them. And what I mean by that is if you'd asked me about what a conspiracy theory is and how people believe them in the abstract, I would have thought of it as like a ladder. Like you believe like a relatively mild thing, and then you kind of that's like a gateway drug, and then you start
Mhm.
to think that vaccines are fake, and then you end at like, the Holocaust wasn't real and the
Right.
protocols of the elders of Zion. But it seems from what you're saying, like the way it happens now is it's just sort of like, all right, I just think all this stuff, and there isn't like a lot of like it's people just sort of believe in like the protocols of the elders of Zion and like anti-vaxxing, and have other beliefs that are totally normal, but there isn't like there isn't like a big coherency to it. Like it's just like they can like kind of live these otherwise normal lives, but go around thinking that like all of these things about the world are just completely like untrue, but also that like in some ways they're like the victims of this big conspiracy. And that like in some ways still doesn't like make a lot of sense to me, because like to me I would think that if you really believe that like the protocols of the elders design are true, or that like that there's like microchips in the vaccine supply and some effort to control everybody, like you would want to like take action. Like there would be like it would prompt you to do something, but instead people just like go online and like watch TikTok. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's actually one of the reasons why I really started focusing on QAnon back in the the old days of 2018. I saw in its kind of language and its the promises and the sort of messianic fervor that it had, it felt a lot like some of the other scams I'd written about. Some of I talk about this stuff in the QAnon book, things like Nasara, the Iraqi dinar, where you're going to make this very small investment and it's some magical thing is going to happen and you're going to be a millionaire, and like it's all just about to happen, and the pieces are almost all in place, but the dark forces keep getting in our way, and all you can pray and you can buy more of whatever this thing is and it'll all be fine in the end. QAnon did that, but it did it for the pedophile traffickers who worship Satan and who have ruled the world for thousands of years are finally going to be brought down, and the children are going to be rescued and we're all going to be free. We just need a little bit more time, and then Trump is going to just like say the magic words and it's all going to happen. And nothing happened for years. And I really got concerned because I felt like you can only tease that so much before somebody goes, well, this isn't happening, so I need to go do it. If you really feel like there are like hundreds of thousands of children being stolen every year and sold into sex slavery, it's sort of your moral obligation to go do something about it. And if you don't actually believe that, then you get to just sit there and share memes and watch videos. Um, Most people are not actually going to do anything, but you did start to see people doing something. You started to see shootings happening. You could saw the guy who blockaded himself outside Hoover Dam because he thought that there was a secret inspector general report because Q told him. This stuff started to go offline and started to get really real, and I do think there is an intensity to our discourse right now of like Trump is either going to save the world and make everything great, or he is Satan and he's going to destroy America. And either way, it's sort of your moral obligation to either help him sweep away all the enemies or stop him from destroying America. And I think that the intensity and the repetition of the language on really on both sides of the political aisle is sort of feeding this violent crazy that we're really feeling right now. Um, it's very concerning, and it doesn't seem to be going anywhere because, of course, Trump lives at the center of it and feeds on it, and you have this economy based around it. It's extremely troubling to me.
To your point about the economy based on it, I feel like there's almost like conspiracy theory as a business model now. Um, so what I'm thinking of is you have like the Tate brothers, and I don't know if you how familiar you are with them and like
Oh yeah.
look into what they do, but they had a service, The Real World. At least I think they might have changed the name. It might, but I think it's called The Real World.
Mhm.
And essentially, they charge like a ton of money and they teach you how to make money. That's the
Yeah.
basic pitch. But the real pitch is the way you make money is learning how to remove yourself from the matrix, right?
Mhm.
You see the world for how it actually is. That enables you to become a powerful moneymaker. That seems like I don't know, is that like a new version of just snake oil salesman? It seems like something worse. It seems like conspiracy theory as a ideology being sold. But I don't know. I mean, maybe this is just like a rhyme of something that's been happening like forever.
Well, yeah, there is the huckster aspect to this, and it's always been a money making machine. I mean, there's always been people selling books and pamphlets and merchandise and tapes. It's much more prevalent now because it's a lifestyle. You know, so much of this
Lifestyle. That's
discourse
the word I'm looking for. Yeah.
is supplements and tactical gear and food buckets and a special Trump phone and a special Trump coins and Trump Bibles and, you know, our courses where we're going to teach you how to break free of the control. It is a huge
Yeah.
industry because a lot of these people are really desperate and want to be like the people that they think have all the answers. Trump himself has always sold this model of aspiration. You know, he slaps his name on stuff and says, "Well, if you buy this, you're getting the stuff I get. You know, I eat Trump steaks. You know, I wrote the courses for Trump University. I fly on Trump Airlines. I drink Trump water. If you buy this stuff, you're going to be like me." And that became, if you vote for me, you're going to be like me. There's a comment that he made that I always come back to, and it was from 2018. It was from the rally cycle leading into the midterms, and Trump was giving a rally. I think it was in Fargo, and he was telling these people in Fargo, North Dakota, I mean, not a particularly wealthy city. He's saying those people hate us because we're the super elite. We've got the bigger houses. We've got the nicer boats. We've got the hotter wives. And like he's getting these people in Fargo to cheer for him about how they're the super elite and how big and nice their boats are. It's like hucksterism
Crazy.
meets evangelism meets like messianic end times worship. Trump is really good at it. I mean, he's not as good at it now because he's losing his mind. But he was able to sell lifestyle as an electoral choice. And that aspiration that I'm going to make you as rich as me is so powerful. I think it was so under talked about, especially in 2024, with all the promises that he was making about we're going to cut your electric bill in half and you know, gas is going to be $2 and you know, we're going to get rid of income tax. It's like we're all going to be rich together. None of that was real. But if you're desperate, you want somebody to tell you those things rather than the Democrat who's giving you this sort of incomprehensible economic plan. You're like, I want the guy who says gas is going to be two
It's so funny
bucks.
to me. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like with the Fargo example and with a lot of the conspiracy theories, it's like Trump will sometimes like make fun of his audience, like in the
Oh
Fargo
yeah,
thing, like telling a bunch of people in North Dakota, like in a landlocked area where there's not a ton of water, you have the best boats. Like
yeah,
it's really funny.
yeah.
But it's also like with the conspiracy theories, like if you really believe in QAnon, then like you kind of have to accept that like you're like being duped, right? Like
Oh
you're a
yeah,
rube because in some ways, like you don't have control of your own life. You know, you're a victim of like the big satanic pedophile global cabal. um so it is almost something like demeaning about all of this, like I mean like for the people who believe in it. And again, like it's something I don't really know like how to think my way through, like why are they kind of going along with this thing that's
yeah.
like in some ways like insulting to their own
Oh yeah. There's one of the big
yeah, I don't
QAnon
know.
promoters is this guy who calls himself praying medic, big time like dream interpreter, and he's written like
Okay.
a bunch of self-published books. He actually had like a phony religion going for a while. There was a video of him, I think like last year, talking about Q drops, and you can tell like he's got this smirk on his face of like, I can't believe people still believe this, but they do, so I'm going to exploit it for all it's worth. There is a cynicism in all of this. There's a way that like these people just really hate their audience, and like Trump more than anybody. I mean, Trump hates the people who support him. The more they love him, the more he hates them, and the more they come back for more. I mean, it's like an abusive relationship, but it's unfortunate there are some people who just They just want it to be true. They just want it all to work and Trump to be the guy. Because if he's not, then they were wrong. And they've wasted their lives and they've wasted their vote and their money. And it's really hard to face that. So you just keep going with it because, like, oh, at some point it's going to work out.
Mike, I think I have one last question. This has been awesome, and I have one last question. It has nothing really to do with Trump or politics.
Sure.
But it's the one conspiracy theory that I can't figure out like how it's fake. Like I know there has to be something going on, but I don't know what it is. Okay, and it's several years ago I read this book by like Ben Mesrick, who you maybe know. He like wrote The Social Network, whatever,
Yeah.
and it was
Yeah.
like the 49th parallel, I think. And it's essentially that like all these UFO things happen on this one parallel.
Mhm.
I don't care about the UFOs, whatever.
Yeah.
What I'm interested in is the thousands of cattle mutilations that seem to happen in these areas,
Mhm.
and there's no blood, like the wounds seem cauterized. Like, what is going on? Do you know what's going on? Because this is the one where I'm like, something is going on. All these animals can't just be dying and their blood removed, perfect wounds. So it's either like it's all bullshit, and Ben Trans gave me this bullshit and I believed it, or something's going on. So I've asked other people. No one seems to be able to give me a really good answer. Not that I've looked into this too much. This is like half-assed internet research. But I have you here, so I'm wondering what's going on with the cattle.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, cattle mutilations. I mean, they talk about Art Bell. Like, I mean, how many dozens of episodes did the guy do about cattle mutilation? I mean, I live in an area where we're sort of at this edge of this urban wildlife interface. It's a term I've used a lot with the fire. So we get coyotes, we get bears. I mean, occasionally somebody's cat gets killed. We don't have cattle here, but occasionally like an animal will be just like horribly killed. I don't know the specifics of it, but generally speaking, like if you're in a certain area that has a lot of open space for cattle to graze, you're probably also going to get a lot of predators. You're probably also going to get like rival ranchers who want to fuck up your business. You're probably going to get like pranks getting pulled. You know, sometimes you get crop circles that were put there just by people who like knew that crop circles were a thing. You know, there's probably a lot of different explanations. The one that's the least convincing is that like extraterrestrial beings with the power to traverse space who are like hundreds of thousands of years ahead of us technologically somehow need like cow blood for something. It's like, or there's like,
Yeah.
you know, that's the one that makes the least sense to me, but it does kind of harken back to when these things were fun to talk about. And like nobody shot anybody over cattle mutilations or chupacabra or, you know, whether there was a face on Mars. It was just fun to talk about. And I sort of long for the
Yeah.
day when these things can be fun to talk about again and not like life defining. I hope we can get back to that one day.
Yeah, for real.
Well, that seems like a good place to leave it.
All right.
End on a fun note. Cattle mutilations.
Sure.
Thank you so much, Mike. This has been great. I learned a
Yeah,
lot.
this is awesome.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot,
absolutely.
Mike. This was really,
Yeah,
really, really,
absolutely.
really great. Really appreciate having you on.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so that was a great conversation with Mike. But like I said at the top of the show, it was not the White House Correspondents' Dinner or Trump or anything else that has been the topic of conversation lately. People have been asking me something totally different. They've been asking me, Joe, do you know what's going on Summer House? Have you seen Summer House? And I have to say to them, I don't know what Summer House is. I don't watch Summer House. I think I'm vaguely aware of it as a reality TV show of some kind, but I don't know anything about it. However, fortunately for me and for you, our listeners and viewers, producer Jackie and co-host Josh watch Summer House. They know what's going on. So they're going to explain to me what's going on with Summer House and why I should care or anyone should care.
You should always care about reality television and Summer House. I think it's the gift that currently keeps on giving right now. So thank you for giving me this platform. But,
Yeah.
Happy to be here. I don't even know where to start, guys. Like,
Well,
Josh,
I
do you
think
wanna-
we should start with like the premise of the show, right? Like, I mean, it's been going for a long time, like 10, 15 seasons.
10
like,
years, I think.
10 years.
Yeah. And it's literally just a bunch of people in a share house in the Hamptons that get drunk every weekend and chaos ensues.
And it's on
So,
Bravo, so I think if people are familiar
yes.
with like Keeping Up with the Kardashians or that, it's like, or Vanderpump Rules, like it's like that kind of, it's like that, but like I think like less like I don't know, how would you put it?
I feel like there's less of a
Yeah,
phoniness to it. I mean, in the original seasons, I would say there's less of a phoniness because it's pre like influencer culture that like the Kardashians, I would argue, brought about. Uh, Now you see a lot of people coming on just trying to be like Instagram folks, and it's a for me it's an immediate turn off, which is why I think this current drama is so refreshing because it's just people being stupid for the sake of it.
and so we need to get into the current drama, which is like I think really shaken a lot of people to their core the past couple weeks. Um,
Yeah,
but
West and
it
Amanda.
revolves, yeah, Wes and Amanda, right? Okay, so but it revolves around like them and then Sierra, right?
Yes. Okay.
So uh, I guess to recap, like Amanda was married to Kyle, another character on the show,
Yes.
um, and then they got divorced. And then what happened?
They're not actually currently divorced. They're
Okay,
legally separated, I want to say, is where they're at right now. Basically, before this current season aired or is currently airing, Kyle and Amanda announced that they're getting divorced, which it's been a long ass 4 years. Uh, Everyone saw it coming. Um,
and yeah, this
but
was like a huge plot line in the show, like how troubled their marriage
yes, you
was, and
get
like how
to.
like a nightmare it was for them to be together,
I
right? Yeah,
know. I mean, as soon as Kyle cheated on her the first time, that should have been the end of it. And yet they continued to date and then get married and everything else. But so you're watching their marriage implode right now. But going alongside of that, you have Sierra and West, who are two other people on the show. They previously were dating like 2 seasons ago. And then West basically broke up with her and went on this whole media tour about how she's not his person, which ballsy. Um, so over the last 2 years, you've had Sierra and West alongside Kyle and Amanda, just like duking it out. Everyone hates each other. Then cut to now, you have breaking news that Amanda is hooking up with West, just like out of the freaking blue. And what complicates it further is that Sierra and Amanda are best friends, supposedly. So mind
and this
blowing.
is like caused like an uproar. Like I think Dave Portnoy was like talking about this a couple weeks ago.
Yes. Yes.
Like it was like all over the place that Amanda had kind of betrayed Sierra, her friend, and
Wow.
was hooking up with like West, right?
I
So
know.
and like it's gotten to the
Wait,
point where
can
like,
I ask for a
yeah,
point of clarification?
Of
You
course.
keep saying Wes, like as in Wesley, or West,
with a
like
T,
the
like that
With
direction.
a
direction,
Okay,
yeah.
okay,
with a T,
go on.
yeah. Yeah. I think he works
Well,
for
like
Glamour now, not that that matters, but
because he was like a sports writer, I thought for a
yeah,
while,
he worked for Barstool, yeah.
right?
Oh,
So
I see. Okay, does that help why this is also accelerated? Like how this is like into the popular culture because somebody worked for Barstool? Because I'm still trying to figure out like how
yeah,
anyone would think I know about this. Like why would
I think
anyone be like,
that
"Hey, did you hear about this?"
It's very New York coded, I think, too. They all live like, I want to say in like Tribeca. They're all just out and about doing shit. Amanda and West are all over the NYU bar scene now. Like,
Okay.
you
Okay.
can just run into them.
Okay. All right.
but
But
they had this like big reunion like a couple weeks ago, which
yes.
hasn't yet been aired, but audio from it keeps like leaking. So it's like created this like weird like drip drip of like
Yes.
the like most intense moments of the drama where like everybody confronts one another, and like it's mostly people I think from what like I've heard like screaming at Amanda, with like West kind of silently like sitting in the corner not trying not to say anything at all. uh
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but there was like more gossip that you had, Jackie, I think that you, yeah.
Okay. Just to touch on the reunion though, my favorite part of all of that is that Amanda is like, you can't help who you love while
Right.
everyone yells at her.
That's
But
funny. Yeah.
you can help who you love. Like you have full control over your actions here. But my gossip will mean nothing to Joe. But Josh, I'm curious how you will feel about this. So I went to dinner with a friend of mine last night who also no clue what's going on. But apparently, a friend of a friend was the one who took that picture that got leaked to Page Six, the one of Sierra on the street where she finds
Okay.
out. She shared it with like a group chat, and someone in that group chat sold it to Page Six.
How
And I
much did
was
they
just,
pay?
I have no idea. I have so many questions, but I'm also like,
Yeah,
what a trashy friend to like take credit for
I
this
know.
photo.
And get paid
But
for it. That sucks. Yeah.
I know. I'm just kind of living in this like I'm 2 degrees separated from the Summer House universe now. So very
See,
pleased by that.
that's so interesting because both with the leaks and those photos, like one of the weird things about reality TV is you can never tell what's like the producers like prodding people to do something and what's like actual drama. And the way this
Yes.
all played out, I thought was like so perfect. Where it's like Sierra's like so sympathetic, Amanda and West are like they're like the epitome of like selfish millennials. I thought and so it's all like it's all like it's so easy to sympathize with Sierra. It's so easy to like not sympathize with Amanda and West, right?
Yeah.
But it's interesting hearing from you that like one of the leaks was just totally like organic, like it was just somebody.
I know. I think
Yeah,
that's why it's so fun that everyone right now is like so invested. Like everyone's asking Joe, "Are you watching Summer House?" Like it's just something that inherently brings people together for some reason.
Wait, did we talk about what about the murder? What
oh
about this
yeah.
murder I saw? I saw a headline about West grandma murdered or something. What's going on?
Step grandmother, apparently. Not that that matters, but
His I
yeah.
see here his cousin charged with murder
Yes.
of the step grandma.
Yes. That apparently happened the night before the reunion filmed. So, rumors ablaze of that's why in those leaks he's so quiet. But it's crazy. It's so weird to me how the internet works though, because now everybody's like, you got to be kind to West. Like, he's going through stuff. Like, leave him alone. And I'm like, okay, two
Hmm.
things can be true at once.
Okay, I have one last question, and I think we have to wrap it up, or we might lose our audience. Um,
I can't
I heard
imagine.
that someone is running for office. Is someone on
Okay.
the show running for office? And who is it?
Yes,
Is it West?
Luke. It is not West. I don't think that would go well. I have to look up, bear with me, Luke's actual name because I've never said it out loud before.
But it's for Congress in Minnesota, right?
Yes.
Like a federal, like the or like state, like
Gulbranson, Luke Gulbranson. Yeah, he's running. No,
Thank
he's running
you.
for the federal Congress, I think.
His campaign video is actually very good, in my opinion. But yes, Luke Gilbranson is currently running for office in Minnesota. He was apparently out during the ICE protests too, so he's a Democrat. Props to him. I feel like there aren't very many reality stars that are Democrats
so.
at this point.
Okay, here's my next question. He's running for office in Minnesota, but he's on a show called Summer House. Where is the Summer House? I doubt it's in Minnesota. Oh,
Hamptons.
okay.
He is an
Okay.
actor / model now / politician. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Maybe we should get him on the pod.
We should get him
I'm
on the pod.
sure he would come with open arms.
Hey, we TPM has readers and listeners in Minnesota. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
we a lot
we can-
actually. Yeah, a lot. We need to
can-
get there.
we can sell it. We can sell it to him.
Yeah. We need to
Yeah.
get there and do an event. Frankly.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
thank you guys for listening, and thanks Jackie for coming on.
Thanks
Yes.
for having me.
We'll have another rep out next week talking about AI and maybe more
Yes.
Summer House drama, depending on how things go.
Yeah. Maybe we'll find. Maybe Summer House is AI. Maybe they are AI. That's my conspiracy theory. That's it. I'm done. I'm dropping on that.
Someone get Andy in the camera now. But yeah.
All right. Thanks, Jackie. Thanks, Josh. See you later.